It's more. We begin a new chapter, chapter 58. What did we speak about previously? We spoke about the importance of speech and action. Why is speech and action so important? Is because the godly soul doesn't need perfection, but the animal soul does. The animal soul that animates the body, it needs to be perfected. How is it going to get perfected? Through doing a mitzvah, doing the will of God. It's going to become refined. How does it become refined? It's because since the will of God is embodied in a mitzvah, when you do a mitzvah that engages the physical body, because the mitzvahs are physical actions that a person needs to do, or in the case of prayer, it's verbalization, so we'll get to in a moment, then that verbalization is done through the vital soul / animal soul that gives vitality to the body. Right now I'm talking, what gives me the power to do that my mouth could move, is my vital soul or / animal soul. So through the speech and through the actions, I'm able to elevate it. And that's the ultimate purpose, is when I elevate my klipa from within me. My godly soul is not from klipa, is not got negativity to it. It's pure holiness. It's purely a part of God. So when I elevate that, then I elevate everything that goes to do that mitzvah that allows me to speak, allows me to do an action. Then I'm elevating all those, the food, the drink, the material things in my life that help to do the mitzvah. All of it gets elevated, and finally, when that gets elevated, and this becomes, God, all being good, is eternal. So goodness is eternal. The mitzvah is eternal. Evil is temporary. What's the proof it's temporary? It's going to be eradicated. Mashiach comes. It's no longer here. And that's what we're working on to get there, right? So when we use our world that is permissible to be elevated into holiness, then ultimately evil will not have any force to nurture from, because all of the klipas noiga will be elevated. Now, this is something, since God is good and therefore the mitzvahs are good and therefore eternal, this is something that's been happening since the Torah has been given at Mount Sinai. And it becomes a collective effort. So it's not like, everything today in the entire world every element of the world needs to be used in that manner, of being elevated towards holiness. But since it is a collective effort throughout the generations, we're sort of like, the straw, literally that straw, that is on the heap of the mountain, that's going to tip the scales and bring Mashiach. So that's what we learned till now in brief. So the Alter Rebbe continues. This now we can understand what our sages said, based on what we've learned, is that if a person meditates on the greatness of God, meditates on the Shema, meditates on the Amida, the private audience of God, that the blessings, the Shemona Esrei, you meditate upon, right? And you didn't articulate the prayer, you don't fulfill the mitzvah. So, for example, imagine you meditate, contemplate at great length the mystical meaning of the Shema, right? And you've thought it you spent half an hour doing that. But you didn't verbalize and say, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. You didn't do that, right? You didn't fulfill your obligation. You have to say those words. You can't just meditate upon it, right? Because you can't go on top of a Tibetan mountain and just meditate and you don't fulfill, you might feel really good, you might feel very close, but that's missing the point. The point is about the elevation of the animal soul and the body, because that's what makes a dwelling place for God. So, same thing as benching, grace after meals, birchas hamazon, or even, which is a biblical law, or even blessings that are a rabbinic law that we make on our food. If you contemplate about the blessing, that you have an apple in front of you, or some food product, right, that's kosher, and you contemplate the presence of God, God's animating this fruit. You didn't fulfill the mitzvah. You need to verbalize and say it. Why? As we've explained. Because that's the whole point. The soul doesn't need to be fixed, our godly soul, and thought would, connect with our godly soul. We need to fix our animal, vital soul, and our body. It needs refinement. So therefore, we need to verbalize. Now, that being said, the first, line of the Shema, you need to also have contemplation and meditation and intention. You need to concentrate. If you say Shema Yisrael, just without thinking and mindlessly saying it, then you don't fulfill the mitzvah of that one line. But if you're at some point mindless in your prayers, but you're still verbalizing it, you fulfill the command. You fulfill the command. And again, the reason is because the soul is perfect. It doesn't need perfection, the godly soul. It came into, vested into our body, into our animal soul, in order to refine it and to help it. Now with this, we've come full circle in the understanding of what we started in chapter 35. Chapter 35, we started with a understanding of the phrase that the Alter Rebbe brings in the title page, which is the kikarev elecha, that this thing, your relationship, Torah and mitzvahs, is very close to you. Beficha, in your mouth, belvavcha, in your heart, laseisa, to do. Here we're explaining that the ultimate purpose is to do, that it is about doing. And this is the ultimate purpose that we have, is to do for God, to make a dwelling place for Him in this low world, and in me, the lowness of me, as my animal soul and my body, that is the concealment of God, is very real in my animal soul and body, and I have to be motivated by my godly soul to do the mitzvah, but in fact, I do the mitzvah through the body and the animal soul. So my speech and my actions are crucial to make that dwelling place for God, which ultimately will come in the coming of Mashiach. So that brings us from chapters 35, 37, and now this first part of chapter 38, a full understanding of this concept. Yet, the Alter Rebbe says, nevertheless, it has been said that prayer, or any other blessing for that matter, that is said without intent is like a body without a soul. Now, I want to emphasize the point that we've been making till now. The point we've been making is that verbalization of the prayer, the act of putting on your tefillin physically, the act of being charitable, whatever the actions are, The act is the most important thing. And even when it comes to verbalization is considered like an action. It's like a mini action. the words that we say in prayer, for example. The most important thing is that. Yet. I'm sorry. I wanted to emphasize this point, which is a very unique idea. Because most people think, well, it's the thought that counts. It's, my good intentions that matter. No. Good intentions is not what matters in this instance. In this instance, it is about the verbalization of the prayer. It's about the action of the mitzvah and not about the intent. Through that alone, we are revealing the will of God. We are connecting to God. Through the action of doing that mitzvah, through the verbalization of that blessing that we make over the fruit. Yet, okay? Again, I'm sorry. My apologies. And that's a very unique idea because you don't have that in any other teachings. That just the mere action itself is a connection to God. What do you mean? Without the awareness, without the, understanding the importance of it. Yeah, you're connected. However, the Alter Rebbe says, and when it comes to prayer, the words of prayer are like the body, and the kavana, meaning the concentration, the intent, where you are emotively, so to speak, is the soul. So what does that mean? The Alter Rebbe explains. Just as all creatures of this world that God creates has a body and soul to it, right? Every living being has the physicality of their being, and then the soul of their being, right? God animates them all constantly out of nothingness. Both the soul and the body, God is animating, creating, right? Furthermore, even stones and earth that are completely inanimate, they also have a, so to speak, life force in them. They have a life force. It's their soul, right? And they're created by the light of God. And if God were to revert, to take away that spark that animates it, it would revert to complete nothingness, as it was before it was created, right? Yet the quality of light that radiates in the body compared to the quality of light that radiates in the soul is incomparable. In other words, God animates, take my body, right? He animates my body. He animates my soul. My body, in animating it, the light is very contracted, very reduced, compared to the light of God that is animating my soul. That is not contracted, not as reduced. There's a huge quality of difference. What does that difference mean? Have to wait. But we can see where that's going. There's the light of God that gives life, and then there's the existence of the thing itself. More on that to come. Middle of an idea. So, just a thought of the situation we're in. So what are we learning over here that it's important to verbalize and to act in order to create the dwelling place for God in this world, in order to engage my animal soul, to have it refined together with my body and through speech, because the power to speak is not coming from a godly soul, it's coming from my animal soul that's giving vitality to my body, as we've learned to great length in earlier classes. So in this situation, we need to verbalize. We can't get lost in our thoughts. We need to verbalize. We need to act in a manner that God's will not be concealed. That's what the prayers reveal, the light of God in me, when I verbalize them. So likewise with this situation, where God is animating a world that has full of a virus, that could be devastating. So what do I need to do? I can't allow what my eyes see to merely dictate what's going on. I mean, I see is, isolation and challenges and people getting sick and so on and so forth. We have to be able to verbalize our trust in God. We have to act in a way that our trust in God is there, and not allow the animal's soul to kind of control and bring anxiety and fear to us. There are many people who have anxiety, who have fear. So if we verbalize our prayers, if we not just think good, it'll be good, but we verbalize that notion, then it'll take away from the animal soul's anxiety that it's trying to bring us down. Because, the disease or the virus can wreak havoc. But you know what can wreak even more havoc? Our negativity. So, to fight the negativity only in your thoughts is difficult. It's hard just to always, try to push away negative thoughts. So here, by verbalizing positive things, our prayers to begin with, right? It refines the animal soul, that the negative thoughts that will come up will, first of all, not be as powerful, not be as constant, not be as, debilitating. That's a powerful idea that we need to bring into our lives. Thought for the day. All right, folks. Shabbos is coming, and we need to prepare. So let's just say a good day and a good Shabbos to Donna, to Deanna, to Moshe, Celia, Linda from the Netherlands, where it's already Friday afternoon. Veronique from the upstate New York. Hello. Tanya from Costa Rica. And John from North Carolina. Anna Shalom. Joham. I'm sure I got that wrong. Rick from the Chicago area. Thank you for joining. Theo. And Ingrid Batcha from Montreal. From Portugal. Marina. Darren from Saskatchewan in Montreal. Alice from Baltimore. And all right. Anyways, a good thought. Lynn from Texas. All right, folks. Sharing is caring. Please share the alternative teachings with others. Today is Beis Nisan, the second day of the month of Nisan. Don't forget to say the Nasi. Today, 100 years ago, the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Rebbe Chap, passed away. And his son, Rav Yosef Yitzchak, became the Rebbe on this day. So it's a auspicious day. His neshama, both of them. And they're here to take care of us. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from my home in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege, a pleasure to share with you. Have a wonderful day, a good Erev Shabbos, and a wonderful Shabbos.